Hello everyone, it's Matt here and welcome to the March vlog. It's been a very quiet period for the MBR Works YouTube channel, primarily because I'm dealing with pretty much other things in the background more than anything else. So obviously it's realistically been about 3 months, maybe 4 before a proper vlog. So obviously throughout that time there's been a lot of arrivals, so it's just new and interesting things. Bricklink and Pick a Brick have always been arriving on and off while I've been dealing with lots of other little projects and maybe doing some restocks of certain parts, maybe getting some rare ones which maybe are going cheap or something. And I've actually placed my first Pick a Brick order from Lego, which is here. And this contains quite a lot of nice, interesting, useful parts. Some new torsos, some doors, other bits and pieces which aren't that common, such as the 1x2 tiles in dark green, which obviously, as most people are aware, actually returned back into stock from the Speed Champions range last year. It's actually the first time I've actually ordered any. Not that I need some, but while I was making an order for some Pick a Brick parts, might as well chuck some in on the favourite sellers or the quick sellers or the hot list or whatever the Lego like to term it. So those have arrived as well, so I can put those into the storage bins and what have you, get them sorted. I think there's one more Bricklink order outstanding as at the time of recording. Most of the others have all arrived, and those have been for various little bits and pieces. So obviously one of the major changes is this here. This is a Wicked Brick stand. This is a, is it 1, 2, 3? Right, so it's 14 and 4 rows, for those interested in what it is. I ordered this and a little 2 minifigure display stand, I think it was sort of like November sort of time. And I think the lead time at then was about like 16, 18 weeks or something like that. Now, obviously this has taken slightly longer to be delivered than expected, but obviously because we had Christmas. Wicked Brick did actually send an email to say there was some production issues, I think it was, or something or other. So it's arrived, it's been installed, it's been balanced. It's not using quite all the materials that Wicked Brick sent, so there's supposed to be some spacer washers on the screws. So the spacer washer is there on that one, but not on that one. That actually works in my favour because it's now level. The reason why it's missing from that one but not that one is that the wall isn't perfectly flat. It sort of bulges a little bit towards the end of the chimney breast here, so it actually makes more sense that it was missing it here, because that side's fine, because it's actually, effectively the wall is, that's supposed to be the Wicked Bricks and the things actually like that, so the fact that the screw's missing actually works in its favour to hold it against the wall. It's a really nice piece of lots of acrylic, and it's reasonably easy to assemble. Did take a couple of retries while I was assembling the back plate. Other than that, it's a really nice display. Just got to start filling it now, so I'll probably fill it with minifigures which are never going to actually be put out on like displays or anything. They're just here for memento purposes, maybe they're rare or something, so the little 2x3 brick figures, but normally in Pick a Brick and some of the collectible minifigure series, they'll be hitting here somewhere or other. So it's literally just going to be a case of they'll fill this up with various figures over the various themes, and then it's stuff that's elsewhere is now in here, and it's not in the way as much. Breckland Brick wheels. I was going to say Breckland Brick wheels. So Breckland Bricks at my behest and nagging has developed these wheels. Now, I'm not sure how these are going to show up on camera, but these are plain disc wheels. There you are. With an axle hole through them. Now, the reason why I've asked for these is that these are the same size as the standard stock Lego wheels. They're more expensive than the standard stock Lego wheels, but you may ask yourself, why would I want special wheels anyway? Well, these are disc wheels, so these don't have spokes. So if you ever have a look at the Lego train wheels of that size, they have spokes, but they're not see-through spokes. They're actually solid. And the reason for that is that from a toy safety perspective, you can't have them as spokes because that makes them fragile. You know, it's a choking hazard, you know, X, Y, Z. So obviously you can't really get around that without, you know, going to custom printing or custom injection molding. Not that I've actually had any problems with, you know, problems with injection molded wheels from people like Breckland Bricks. You know, their wheels are, you know, quite sturdy. You know, I've never had any issues with like them breaking apart or anything else like that. But I think from a toy safety perspective, it's a lot easier if you just go for a solid wheel with a bit of a spoked wheel motif rather than a full-blown spoked wheel. So obviously that's that. So I've got some disc wheels. These are, I think there's 24 in here, and they're actually for the Ager diesel project. So I can actually change all the wheels over to these custom wheels. So I'm building 3 diesels, one of which will be a charity diesel. I'll sold off for charity at some point. So I've got the wheels for that, so I can outfit them all with these nice disc wheels. And it means then that all the stock of proper Lego wheels, if you like, can then go off back with the train motors and, you know, etc. The other bits and pieces I've got there, now these are a bit very special. These aren't actually open yet, so I'll just have a little shutty off camera. So we got one here, which is it's not. I'm not showing the size because it's got documentation on it, but this is an order of DVDs from RailfanDepot. These were actually ordered a long time ago. These were actually ordered before Christmas, back when they were having a Black Friday sale, I believe it was. And the United States Postal Service very helpfully decided to advise that because of the paperwork issue, they were going to be sent back to RailfanDepot. On the 26th of December, USPS apparently then lost the package. So after some toing and froing with RailfanDepot, they're actually sent out a replacement set of DVDs anyway. I'm pretty sure they've taken a fish to USPS's the USPS rep's face and gone, you know, you've lost the package, you know, you need to reimburse us. So Monty Python reference there. So yeah, you know, I'm happy with that. I've got the DVDs. I've not opened them up to check that they are the ones I've ordered because I've been busy with various other bits, you know, in my life. So, but yeah, we finally have the DVDs. Some New Haven stuff in there, some other bits and pieces, which is really good. And the other thing is, this is actually from this country, the good old UK, Micron radio control. Now, this is for some people who don't know. There was a UK company who did radio control for model trains. And I can't remember who the original company was. And it's hard for me to remember because, you know, busy day at work and failing memory, what have you. But basically, they were unable to continue producing the radio systems because of a lack of chips, a lack of deep technical knowledge, or deeper technical knowledge, you know, and it was, you know, XYZ, you know, I want somebody to take them over. Well, Micron actually took over the remote control and the one family of radio receivers. So that's what that is. So that is a radio control and a radio receiver. And the radio receiver in that package is actually for the Pensy Railroad T1 duplex, which I've actually moved round onto other shelving, so it's actually a bit more accessible. So that's primarily one of the big things on it up is that I didn't want to really progress with the model until I had the control system sorted. So it was going to be that it was going to be waiting effectively for the 4 amp balloon army, and obviously that would have been, you know, complete. It would have been the radio control and the sound all in one. But the problem with that is that the refinements, if you like, of the balloon army were probably going to be lost because the cylinders might not be perfectly aligned and that sort of stuff, which is why I wanted to go for a more custom sound solution, like the Dali Highline. And Dali Highline isn't available at the moment, but when I was asking around to a lot of the sellers of Dali Highline sounds, and from what one of them, most of the time it's been a case of we've not got them in stock, we don't know when we're going to have the next batch, blah blah blah. But one retailer, something like S Scale Resource or something, who's actually got a Facebook page, I messaged the Facebook page and sort of said, Dali Highline, says it's been out of stock. It's been out of stock for 2 years. Have you got any idea if it's only going to be available, or have you got any stock, Or it was a case of, I don't think they actually had a proper website. It was a ask us for stock, and I sort of said, well, I know you sell Dali Highline, do you have the sound one? Or if not, do you know when it's coming back? And he sort of said, I've not got any stock, Tough luck was effectively what it sounded like. But then I think it was a day or a couple of days after he'd sent the original message, he sort of said something about them possibly coming into stock later this year, which means that me getting a sound system is actually a feasibility, because I wanted Dali Highline because it's already got the PRT1 sounds. It's got that stuff where it's got a lot of stuff I prefer out of a sound system. So it's got, chuff synchronized sound, so I can actually fit one of the 3x3 Technic discs to the driving axle, one of the sets that isn't doesn't have the motor driving it. I can actually use the 3x3 Technic disc with the axle hole, mount that on the power set that doesn't have the, because obviously there's 4 driving axles. Well, two of those axles are going to have the motors driving them. So that means the front of the pair, which obviously we're just, connecting rod to the back wheel, I can actually fit those with a 3x3 Technic disc. I can then fit on some tiny magnets, and then I can fit a little reed switch in, and that then means that as the disc rotates, it triggers the reed switch. I can then get chuffs. So that means I can then, have all the chuff synchronization via the Dali, and hopefully what it means is that I can have the Micron radio control and the batteries and that sort of stuff in the big tender, because obviously it's the big Pennsylvania Railroad coast to coast tender. Because it's in the coast to coast tender, I can then shove the radio and all that sort of stuff in there, and just have a cable for power to the main loco that will then feed the Dali electronics. That'll mean the sound is all there. I can then fit a lifelike speaker possibly in the smoke box, that faces downward, so it ejects it into the track and then reverbs out. I then can fit the battery control system in the firebox. And then that means that all the sound is going to and all that sort of stuff is in the firebox. So it makes it so that I can literally just take out the the 2 sets of cables, effectively the power for the the Dali Highline sounds, and the one which controls like the front lights and feeds the motors. I can just literally split those 2 up, and I've got 2 separate units then. And if I just want to run the loco without sounds, I can just effectively clip in the one, turn it on, and away you go. And that's all hunky dory from that perspective. So moving on to what I've got on the list, it's on build/prep according to my notes here. So basically I've been doing, the reason why not a lot is seeming to be done is because I'm actually focusing on trying to do a few of the bits and pieces. So that is doing some research into how to build the buildings that are going to go on the display. So that's like the Corleone Hotel, or Corleone, depending on what pronunciation you go for. And that is actually a reference. It's actually a double reference, if you like. So for those of you of a certain age who may have played Mafia, now I'm talking about the 2002 one, not the Definitive Edition, but the Definitive Edition is just a remake, so I suppose it makes sense. But there's a hotel in Mafia, the City of Lost Heaven, called the Hotel Corleone, or the Corleone Hotel, and that is actually a reference to The Godfather. So I'm doing the same thing. I'm having the Corleone Hotel. It actually serves a dual purpose of a reference to Mafia 1 and a reference to The Godfather. One of the other buildings I've been focusing on is, or trying to do this stuff for, is the Vangels clothing shop, and that's actually a reference to Mafia 2, which came out in 2010. So you've got Mafia 1, you've got Mafia 2, and there'll probably be a Mafia 3 reference or somewhere, sort of like El Clay or something, and it's like it's going to be a very bespoke reference, but it's going to be there as a reference. So I've been working on the Vangels clothing shop, and I've not actually been working on the shop per se, but working on the signage and making sure the signage looks right, because I'm not doing a copy, and for anyone thinking that it's going to be a copy, it's not going to be a copy, it's a homage. It's going to be as much as I like the design and the sort of general thing of that 1940s-y, 50s-y sort of era of buildings, and trying to replicate something which is reasonably good compared to the game. I don't want to copy the game. There's various reasons for that. Primarily is the fact that the dimensions, or the broad dimensions of the buildings, don't actually work properly in Lego. The Vangels shop in Mafia 2 has this nice big front window. Well, that's all very nice. I'm not going to go for that. I'm going to change it around and make it look a bit... changing it around so it's broadly the same, but there's going to be some changes to make it suit what I want to do a bit better. And obviously there's a few other things as well. So the signage is going to be different. The signage, I can't do that nice piping lettering reasonably easy. I'm going to go for something brick built, which is going to be a bit more weightier, but looks, to my mind, better because it's a bit more Lego-y. But it's still going to try and, emphasise that nice sort of Art Deco-y sort of style. Now, obviously, I've only got the signage. I have got ideas to do the actual frontage, so what I've got as an idea for the frontage is actually to do it as a 32 stud wide block of pavement, and it's going to have effectively a you're going to have a stud of wall. It's actually, so the outside is going to have a stud of wall. It's actually going to be dual bricked, but because the first one is right next to the the front, it's actually only going to be one. And then that's going to have like a 1x4x6 panel in the windows. That's actually going to allow you to see into the shop front. Then the rest of the shop front's actually at a slight angle, and then you've got the door that goes in, and then you've got some plain glass 1x4x6 panels again that are going to be floor height, so you can see into the shop and see some of the occupants and some of the clothing and maybe some of the shop dummies, staff and that sort of stuff. And then I'm going to flip it the other side, so effectively what you've got is sort of like a bit of a glass window either side that angles in effectively. So you've got the front, it then rotates around and angles in slightly to like the actual doorway. And the reason for that is that allows me to have some minifigures, sort of like a shop dummies, sort of in the window showing off the suits. So what I'm probably going to do is I'm going to have it as Vangels with the sign above the ground floor. So menswear on the left and then women's on the right, and make it appear more attractive, and it's not just men's or it's not just women's. Because obviously in real life, I think it was Mangles, and it was actually a women's shop, clothing shop in Mafia 2, although it's depicted as, I would broadly say, primarily men, because obviously that's how you get the, it's, if actually you're playing as a male character, it wouldn't make sense for a women's clothing shop in a male dominated game. There is references to like the hat boxes and stuff to sort of maybe imitate it's actually a mixed gender shop, and that's what I'm going to do when I'm going to do mine. It's going to be that you've got menswear, as you go in, it's all menswear sort of stuff. You're going to have changing rooms and that sort of stuff. But from a outside perspective, it's going to have women's wear on the right, and the reason it's going to be that is that there's going to be a, in the quote unquote model world, there's a lift and stairs and that sort of stuff, and that actually takes you up to the other floors, and the other floor, floor or floors, plural, is actually like the children, the women's and possibly even children's wear, but that's, in the realm of, fiction, and suggested rather than actually modelled, on the basis that if I model it, it's going to be parts intensive and that sort of stuff, and I don't really need to model it. I can just effectively model a window, but then just stick some 1x6x5 black panels in and call it a day. There's no real difference to me if I model the interior or not, because if I put on the model the ground floor, I make the ground floor look reasonably good. You don't really notice the fact that the other bit of the building is there, but not actually got any contents. So yeah. And then the other thing has been working on park open area. Well, the park open area is not really a high priority, but the thing is, it's a reasonably easy area to do. So one of the things I've been doing to do the park open area is actually reverse engineer the pagoda-y sort of building that's actually in the Rivendell set from Lord of the Rings that's coming up. So I actually have parts of it here. So this is one of the core bits, and there's actually two of those done. So I've actually got the start of the little hexagon-y sort of shape. And obviously I can order more parts to go in with that. And then that means I can actually have the complete, pagoda-y sort of build. That can then go in the little park areas a little, either as a nod to the actual set, or just as a sort of nice decorative-y sort of feature from that sort of side. And really, the other thing I definitely I want to sort of block out and as a build is a car park. Now, what that probably means is it's probably not going to be an absolutely massive car park. I'm planning on maybe making it a 32 by 32 with maybe a 16 by 32 sort of another half base place in addition to that. But what I might do is actually make it a 32 and a 32, a 32 by 32 and a 32 by 32, so both standard base plates, and have them together, but then may have on one side an access road, or like a one lane road or something, and then I can have the car park, which has access to both. And what that means is that then that gives me another access road to maybe to some other bits and pieces, but it also means then I can stick a brick wall, a wall of a building or something at the back, maybe stick some nice advertising on, and it sort of acts as a nice scenery break, so you can't see behind it, but it's there as a bit of a distraction to, and it breaks up the scene, but it still allows me to put extra vehicles on and that sort of stuff, and maybe make a little scene, so maybe there's a recovery truck or something that's there, and it just adds a bit of, storytelling without actually having to do a proper story. I can literally just lay out a car park. Here's a background. Here's some car parking spaces. Here's a thug getting beaten up, or here's some roadworks or something. And it sort of blends in, the scene, and it's something which is effectively on paper seen to be something that's very boring and very flat and very uninteresting, but in reality is something that's actually quite interesting, because you've got all the different things. You've got the building at the back. Well, what does it do? Well, maybe there's a sign somewhere that says it's, I don't know, the Clementi Slaughterhouse, or, I don't know, the chemists, or, I don't know, Byron's Discount Beds or something, something, completely, you can make it as wacky or as sensible as you want, but because it's not on the main scene, you can hint at it without actually having to build it. So that gives you a nice, good thing for that. So, you know, it's all stuff in the works. I'm plodding along very slowly, you know, chipping away at the big block, you know, one little piece at a time. So I'll take a quick drink here because it's thirsty work. So probably the last bit I really want to touch on for the vlog is actually events. So events is probably one of the big things. So as you've probably guessed, if you've been watching, well, not watching, but looking at my Facebook feed, you've probably gone, you know, Thirst has come and gone, Bricktastic's come and gone, you know, where's the events, Matt? So I'm actually helping out / volunteering at the Black Country Brick Show. It's actually back this year for a 2-day event. I'm not displaying, but I am helping out. So the Friday I've managed to get half a day off work, so I'm in the morning but off in the afternoon. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to, you know, finish work on the Friday, you know, tram it over or bus it over to West Brom, get to the venue and help set stuff up. And then obviously I can probably help out Saturday and Sunday. And because of that, it means then, you know, I can do my bit, help the show out, and that sort of stuff. After Black Country, which is obviously, I think that's April 1st and 2nd, for those of you who want to look it up, I'll put a link in the description. I'm not sure what else is coming after Black Country, if I'm going to be bluntly honest. I kind of want to maybe do some of the bits and pieces. I'm thinking of possibly seeing if the NMRA British Region exhibition is going to be reasonably accessible from a public transport perspective. So I'm going to see if I can do that, or at least go there on the public day and show my face. And I think after that, the only real thing I really have penciled in as a maybe is going to be Amherst 2024. So Amherst 2024. Amherst is the Amherst show, is also known as the Springfield show, and it's the Amherst Railroad Model Hobby Show or something along those lines. It's held in Springfield, Massachusetts in the US, and I've already kind of got an idea on a LGMS module I want to do. Obviously, because I'm going to be a guest participant, I can't bring a display table. So I'm probably going to do is volunteer a standard 9 baseplate module, and you know, go, here's what I've got to offer, and you know, that's that. So yeah, you know, it's interesting times ahead is probably how I'd you know, pencil in the subtitle for the vlog. So yeah, you know, if you've got any questions about what's happening, you know, drop it down below. You may have noticed the background is slightly different and slightly chaotic to what you might normally expect in a video. You may also notice that at the top here, I'll just check here, so right, get the other way around. So right here is actually my AML Superfan certificate. I finally got it up. It's been framed for a while and it's actually been down under the table. I've had a, you know, it's one of them big things where I tidy up every so often and change things around. So yeah, my Superfan certificate is finally up, because I'm the only AML fan crazy enough to actually get a tattoo, which is right here. So there you go. So yeah, that's it for the vlog. If you've got any queries, questions, comments, you know, drop them in the comment section. Other than that, that's it from me. And you know, I'm just gonna plod on with the backlog as it goes. So that's it for me, and thank you for watching.